Hello everybody and welcome back to the second shelf and to another tag video. I have a couple of the tags that I had been tagged in. I think it's not that many anymore because people don't tag me that much anymore because I'm bad with doing tags, but there are at least two that I still have to do after this one. I will try to do them this year. I was tagged by the BookTube goddess in a tag about forgot what it's meant, and then the Kim from Middle of the Book March tagged me in the 1001 books tag. I know people, but there's another tag that I decided to do today. I forgot who tagged me, but it's a chatty tag, and I was just in a more of a chatty mood. So forgive me both, but this one is more, more suits my mood today, and it's the what is it called, the philosophy of reading tag, and that sounds really heavy, but it's just about your reading habit and how you read and what you think is important when you read. And the original tag was created by Brandon from Brandon's Bookshelf. I will leave a link, of course, down below. And as I said, as per usual, I forgot who tagged me. I mean, not as per usual, because I remember the other two, but this one I don't. And I'm trying having questions on my phone, so let's see how that works. Anyway, and there are 20, so I'd better get moving. But Brandon said in his original video that you don't have to do them all. So that's comforting for you and for me. Number one, what's most important? A good character, plot, or message? Start with the least important. Message is not important. Message is hopefully incorporated, and it's for most readers very individual what you take from a book. So if this is a message heavy book, it's not for me. As if you follow me for any length of time, you know that I'm a plot oriented reader, but for me I would rather say story, and that is plot and character together, because if the characters do things that are just completely don't make sense within the plot or within the way that they are presented, I mean, I will probably DNF the book. And I'm also very, very irked if there are plot holes, or if the author didn't think a plot through, or, has coincidences because he didn't know how to advance the plot. Yes. So plot, character on the same level, plot maybe a little bit higher, and message, no. Should one read about books about ideas or opinions you disagree with? Yes, certainly. If you want to expand your horizon, it's good to read stuff that is not just repeating what you already think. So especially if you read nonfiction, I would say, if you are a political person and you are interested in how the world looks at the moment, or 100 years ago, or 10,000 years ago, it's probably good to read stuff that is not just, in your own bubble, giving back your own bubble. Otherwise, you might as well not learn anything. But that's just me. Number 3, as tech advances, what do you think will be the role of books? I don't think that technological development has anything to do with how much we like stories or how much we like to read. It's just the way of reading will probably change, like from the when you had these ancient rolling things, and now we have books, and now we have ebooks. Yeah, but the importance of story, whether it's an oral tradition or whether it's a written tradition, I think that will never ever change, because that's part of who we are as humans, I would say. Number 4, how important are summaries, review, and art in your book? I mean, in your book choosing, how you choose a book. Art is only important insofar as I'm not able to read certain fonts. If they are, you might remember that I bought books without, online, without having couldn't see how they look inside. And if it's a particular way of font, very narrow and very black, like almost bold, I can't read it. Other than that, I'm not interested in how it's made up, the book. I do read summaries, yes. I'm interested in what the book is about, especially if it's fiction. I mean, if it's nonfiction, I pick a book because of the topic. But fiction, and if I read a summary, this is about a 30-something couple in Connecticut after their divorce, I will probably not pick it up because that's not something that interests me. And at the same time, if in the blurb or the summary it says this is about a writer who struggles with, I will probably pick it up because that's something that I'm interested in. So the summary is certainly important. I will also, if I buy a book in a bookstore, always turn to a page somewhere in the middle and read, see whether the style appeals to me. And I'm always looking, I don't read reviews, but I'm certainly looking at BookTube for recommendations. And if somebody talks really with enthusiasm about a certain book, that makes me want to pick up the book, but not official reviews. I don't really care what the New York Times book reviewer thinks about a book. No. Should one ever skim or scan a book? It's the problem with the telephone, that the glasses don't work. Yeah, I mean, nonfiction sometimes can be very data heavy, and then I just scan it if I don't feel that I miss anything. And if I don't really enjoy a fiction work, but I don't want to DNF it for whatever reason, because it's for a book club, or I just want to finish it, I want to know how it ends, then I will skim read. So there's nothing wrong with that. Should reading always be enjoyable? Yes. And by that, I mean you do it for pleasure. I mean, there are reads you have to do for your work, or maybe for educational purposes, if you go to school or university, that's different. But if you read in your free time, then you do it for your enjoyment. That doesn't mean that the topic of the book has to be enjoyable. I mean, if you read about war or violence, or that is not an enjoyable topic, but the reading as such, I feel, is always meant to bring you joy. Otherwise, why would you spend time doing it? Number 7, is it important to be well read? No. I feel the term well read is, I don't even know what that exactly means. For me, much more important is that you read broadly. The question before, you read outside of your comfort zone, you read stuff that is not just reflecting your own opinion. You read about experiences, if you read fiction, experiences that are not your own. So I don't want to read, exclusively all the time about elderly white women, ex-lawyers. That's not interesting. So I want to read about lives that I didn't live. And that is important. So for instance, if I look at new booktubers, I will readily admit it. I will watch 1 or 2 videos when a booktuber that I just discovered. And if in those videos they present 10 books and all 10 are by white dudes, I will not subscribe, because that doesn't interest me. If there's no woman, if there's no a person of color author, that's just very narrow-minded, and I'm not interested in that. So broadly is much more important than well-read, for me at least. What is your book buying process? I buy books every month. And there are books that I buy because I committed to buddy reads. And for the rest, it's very much, I have certain projects. As you know, if you follow me, like this year I had the sci-fi spotlight. So I try to, find sci-fi books. But other than that, I'm also a very, spur of the moment buy. I don't buy like 100 books every month. I have mostly I buy between 10 and 15 each month, and half of them will be for buddy reads or other projects, book clubs, and the rest is just something that sparks my interest, or a new release that sparks my interest, or a classic that I haven't read yet. So yeah, it's a combination of reading plans and just being spontaneous. What is your reading process? Well, I saw one booktuber say, "Well, I open the book and start reading." Yeah, but I guess that's not what this is meant. I don't have a process. I mainly read afternoon, evening, after work, and I will sit on the sofa or in bed, and then I will read for an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours. So I have almost certain dedicated times that I want to read. I hardly read during the day unless a weekend and vacation. So that's all I can say about the process. How do you use what you read? Well, that really depends. Not everything I read I use. I mean, sometimes it makes me think. Sometimes it informs my actions. How I look at the world when I read something. That expands my horizon. But it's not. I don't read in order to be able to use it in a specific context. It's more that every book changes you as a person, even if it's only very slightly, and that's then the way you use what you learned or what you read. If you could download a book to your brain, would you still read? Well, I wouldn't download a book to my brain, so no. What are your views on rereading? I think rereading is a pleasure. I don't do it enough. I feel I reread a lot more when I was younger. I feel now I often feel that I don't have the time to reread, because I'm, at my age, the time you can read books is quite, I mean, the time's always limited, but it's getting less and less. And then there are all these books that I want to read. But I did start rereading more last year, and I think it's a real pleasure, because a lot of books, they give you something new every time you read them. Not all the books, but some of the books do that, and that's a real pleasure. What makes a book good? And next question, what makes a book bad? Well, for me, like I said in the beginning, if the characters are flimsy, if they do stuff that is just not logical in the context that they work in, if they are cardboard cliche characters, they act in a certain way because they are sort of placeholders for something, that makes a book bad. And a book is good if it doesn't do, and if it makes me think. A book is really good, excellent, if I have this feeling that there is a window opened in my brain to something that I haven't seen before. That makes a book excellent. I also don't like clumsy writing, but if I read a lot in English, and I'm not a native speaker, so I'm not that, I can't really judge that much whether writing is good. It's more if it's cliched. If there are too many adjectives, too many metaphors that are cliched, that makes me cringe, and I will probably put down the book. Number 16, should the author's personal life matter at all? Well, that's a huge question. And I think I talked about this before. And it depends for me whether the author is alive, whether it's a contemporary author, and then it matters to me in certain contexts whether this author has views that I feel are abhorrent, like racist views or very, very sexist views. I just don't want to read a book then by this author. It's less so, the longer this author is dead. for me. But sometimes it can also be positive that if you know something about the author, it gives more context or depth to a work of fiction. But that is something that is for me not necessary. So the good influence is something, bonus, if you will, and the bad stuff is some authors I think are assholes, and I just don't want to spend any time reading what they think. Yeah. Next question. Let me see. If you could only read one genre for the rest of your time, what would it be? It would probably be nonfiction, because I feel that there's good storytelling to be found there as well. I love to expand what I know, and there is so much really valuable nonfiction out there. So that's probably it. That I would read nonfiction, because that never ever gets boring. Do you ever read a book without knowing anything about it? Hardly ever. Like I said before, I read summaries, I listen to people on BookTube, but certainly the summary. I mean, very, very occasionally, somebody would gift me a book. People normally get me vouchers because that's what I want. But occasionally somebody would gift me a book that I have never heard of, and then I would read it. But I would still probably read the summary on the back, so no. What author, genre, what is this, series? I can't even read this. What author, genre, series, or culture can you just not get into, and why? Well, just for the genres, horror. It just bores me. I mean, I'm the first one crawling under the sofa if I watch a horror movie. I'm scared to death by, any type of horror movie, whether it's Scream or that doesn't matter. But in books, I don't know, it just bores me. And as for authors, I tend to read more women. I read mostly female authors at the moment. And I'm just not as interested anymore in certain dude bro lit, McCormick kind of stuff, Hemingway, because I read that stuff and it just bores me. And I don't want to be bored, because reading should be enjoyable. Do you think everyone should read, and why? Yes, I mean, ideally everyone should have this pleasure, because it makes you look at the world differently. It enhances your views. It makes you empathetic. So it's a pleasure. So I would love if everybody would read, yes, but unfortunately it's probably never gonna happen. And people you tag. I tag the people who tagged me and the tags that I didn't do yet. That's Kim from Middle of the Book March and the BookTube Goddess. All the channels are wonderful, so check them out. Sandy from Miss Reads a Lot. Alyssa from The Redhead. The Readhead or the Redhead, Laureen from Books at the Bottom of the Stairs, and Gina from Gina Stanier, I think your channel is called. Those are the people I tag. I hope you will do this tag. Whoever tagged me, thank you very much. And all of you, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. As always, hit me with your comments, and I'll see you all soon in the next one.